And we back, people. We back with the shield. Hey, we got a good one for you today. Me and my boy Romy. Hey, Rome, say hi to the people, man. This is my boy
Hey,
Rome. Say,
what's good people? Happy New Year to everybody. Let's get it.
let's get it. Let's get it. Okay, so we know it's a lot. We not oblivious to all the stuff that's going on. Shout out to my boy Lim. He out there, on the front line. Had to put in some overtime with the fires that's happening here in LA. So shout out to all the people that's in LA. We sending prayers up to the families for everybody that lost their home, or everyone that got displaced, or anybody that had to evacuate or dealt with the lack of power. We want to let you know we're praying for you and we support you on a serious note. 2025, Rome, like, it's starting off with a blast. Like, hey, 2025 starting off with a blast, man. So before we even get into the subject at hand, see, Linwood had this portion and it's called breaking news. So let's talk about the stuff that's going on in the news, man. And besides the sports stuff, let's talk about real life stuff, Romy. What you got for us, man?
Man, it seemed like the biggest things right now is I was just talking to you guys earlier about it. They're talking about an Arctic blast that's coming from the Midwest to the East Coast to the Southeast, um, and the Mid South. So it's one thing after the next. You guys have the wildfires out in Cali. What else been in the news here lately? I looked at the news earlier here. DeKalb County had a big water main break, and it was like, "Hey, we putting out a boiling water advisory. You can pick up your bottled water." So it's like it just seems like it's 15 days in. It's one thing after the next, and that's what we'll be touching on today. Is there anything new under the sun?
I know you got school shootings. It's a lot of you got sex trafficking. I heard Atlanta down there, down where you at, man. I heard the AIDS number is at an all time high. I heard Houston, we have a problem. I heard that. I mean, it's crazy, man. Just think about, okay, is there anything new under the sun? Okay, let me just tell y'all why we got this premise of this message, right? So Big Mama used to say that, right? And it's in the Bible, believe it or not, right? So it's in Ecclesiastes. And it say, is there anything new under the sun, right? And so there is nothing new under the sun. So they say everything that's happening already happened before, whether you read it in your history books or not. So let's just start, since we, label ourselves similarly a dating show. Let's go down this road right quick, Rome. So let's and we going way back, right? So let's talk about dating experiences back then, back in the day. Let's just call it 90s. So let's talk about the dating scenes in the 90s opposed to dating now. And I know you ain't dating. I get it, but let's talk about it as we are giving people advice. A lot of people call us for advice. We hear from people after the call, during the call, and they want to know. They want to hear your take, Rome. So what's your opinion about what dating was back then opposed to what dating is now?
I think first and foremost, number one, we didn't have the social media at that time. So I would say that especially the early 90s. The early 90s, you really had to use your mouthpiece. You had to basically be able to talk to a young lady. You had to be able to ask for a phone number. And most people had the landline at that time. That's when call ID was real big. They had the call ID come out, and they can see who was calling, things of that nature. So you had to basically talk to the young lady, ask for the number, chop it up with her a few times. Maybe y'all would go to the movies. Maybe you would go skating. Maybe go out to dinner. But it was really a lot of sociable things that you did, a lot of fun times. If you go back, a lot of the popping artists was for the ladies was Mary J. When Mary J came out, it was like she was one of them artists that women really related to, and they gravitated towards her. She had that song "What's the 411," and next thing you know, she blew up. Then the late '90s, you start having the Genuines of the world. R. Kelly took off more than what he was at the time. Maxwell, um, what's my man name?
Soul
Yeah, I mean, then you had groups. We can't forget about Boys to Men, Jodeci. So R&B, I'll put it to you like this before I pass the mic. That was back when we were dancing. We had middle school dances. Hey, you going to that dance? Who you taking? Now I remember that being a big thing. People like, who you taking? I'm like, man, don't worry about who I'm taking. You worry about who you got. You just see me in there. But that was real big. The 7th grade, 8th grade dances. Then when you went off to high school, some people had junior prom, but at my school it was just prom. If you was a freshman and you got asked, you went. But it was just the prom. We didn't have a junior prom, but we did have homecoming, and homecoming was lit. The whole thing with homecoming, just like college, you want your team to win, and you want to win when you go to the dance and everything. Had a stunner with you. You don't want to go in that situation and be like, man, who is that? Why would you bring? You ain't want to hear none of that. So you was trying to always win across the board. So I think that was big in the '90s. That opposed to now with the social
So,
media.
so what if I'm playing devil advocate, right? And I'm
Which
the
I know you gonna do.
yeah, I'm just saying I'm shaking the boat because
All
ain't
right.
nobody gonna do it, right? So, but what if I'm one of these young guys and I was like, well, our dating scene is better than y'all because we got full access. You know what I'm saying? We don't have to wait for the chick to call us back on the pager or the payphone or having a calling card. Like, you know what I'm saying? All I gotta do is say Snapchat be that like say Snapchat be that thing. And I can see it right now. I can have her FaceTime me like the Jetsons and see her right now. Baby girl, what you got on? Y'all used to say that on the phone whispering. But I could just say it while I'm looking at her. I got full access and I can let the girl know I like her just by sending her a wink emoji. Do you know something like that? Y'all ain't know what that was in the '90s. I could send her a wink emoji and let her know, hey. Or I could send her the cucumber, the eggplant emoji too, and let her know how I'm feeling. Like right now, y'all couldn't do nothing like that. Y'all had to be upfront, direct. And you're right, y'all needed all that game. But we don't need game now, man. All you got to do is be able to like a couple of her stories, like her picture, and then and then watch how it go from there. Because if she like yours back, that means she like you back.
Hey, I would say to the young man, I guess you ain't lying. Hey, there's a song out there that said it goes down in the DM. The video was even funnier if people actually go back and watch that video. But what was going on was everybody was messing around, even the groom and the bride in that situation, because everything was at your hand. You know, if you go out right now and look at couples, that's all you got to do. I don't care which restaurant you go to. You can go to Prime, you can go to the most prestigious steakhouse, sushi bar. All you got to do is just take 10 minutes of your time and look at couples and look at who's looking at their phones versus the ones who's not. And
What up, Jeff?
yeah, what up, though, Jeff? Yeah, and that's the biggest thing right now is you got the easier access. She can FaceTime you, something we didn't have. She can do all of these different things, in the DM. You can pick up and call somebody, even though you don't have her number. You can still call on the DM and try to reach her. So at the end of the day, everybody is more accessible. But Los just said a few weeks ago in a story that his dad taught him. He said, if a fish ever hop into this boat and you didn't catch it, you didn't reel it in here, you got to put in the work. So my thing is, I was born up in that era where we had to put in the work to earn what that young lady was going to give us, opposed to it being given to us. Not saying that everybody's been given and it's that easy. I'm just saying that we really had to put in the work to get to first base, second
Well,
base.
with all due fairness, though, like let's just keep it real funky right now. Let's keep it real. You've been hunting and fishing before. But I can guarantee you, if you look at this new generation, The only fish they went to is Captain D's and Long John Silver. That's the fish they getting, and that is jumping in your boat. If you ask me, going to the fish spot and going to get you a 2-piece and a biscuit, that is fish jumping in your boat because ultimately we know how to fish, and we had to actually go through the whole motion of fishing, and we had to be able to understand how to catch the fish, reel it in, and then get the excitement of tugging with the fish, getting it off the hook, making it in the boat, putting it in the cooler, coming home, unthawing the fish, scaling it, gutting it, pulling everything out, throwing it on the fryer, put some spaghetti with it. Midwest, fish spaghetti. Put some spaghetti with it in your salad. We understood the specifics of actually fishing and understanding the ramification of fishing. These young cats don't, and all I'm saying to you is, I don't think they understand of what dating was and how hard it was for our generation, and that it is easy for them. This is why they can't stay in a relationship and they lose. Man, you should see the kids nowadays. When the last time you bought your kid a toy? Like, all I want you to do is sit back for 2 weeks and let them play with it. Then after that, they ain't gonna know where it is, where the remote is to it, the charger. They forgot all about that toy. And so it's just showing you the attention span is extremely low. And what I think is happening is the most thing we ain't talking about is one thing that we had that these kids don't have now that I think that was really, really important that nobody is talking about is the imagination. We used to be in the room or outside by ourselves, and we thought of the craziest things, like whether you playing one-on-one by yourself, acting like you scored on somebody and then this other person turned and you different personalities. We used to do that in the driveway all day long, right? So just think about if you go tell your kids to go outside and go find something to do. They coming right back in 3 minutes later talking about some, I'm bored, I'd rather come back in. And to me, that is absurd. What you say, Romy?
Hey, you touching on a lot of different things. I'll touch on that imagination thing. When we came up in the 80s, the 90s, the NBA, it wasn't all this buddy friend thing. It was you knew there were some serious rivals out there, and some of these guys was gonna go at it. From the Pistons to the Bulls, the Pistons and the Celtics, the Lakers and Celtics going at it. I mean, it was some all out, games where people just left it all out on the floor. And we went from running home from school to be able to play a little bit, be able to watch those games at night, to where now, in all honesty, most people, they even say they were in the ratings. They're not even looking at the games like that until playoff time, is what they're saying. So it's like the NBA game has changed, even though we got a lot more athletic players jumping out the gym and all of those things. That's not even selling. Um, the NFL is breaking all kind of records with their numbers every year when it comes to a Super Bowl. So I think they got to do something there to kind of gauge that imagination. Remember, you said the basketball. Remember the days of being in your backyard or your buddy's yard or at the park, 5, 4, and you doing the last second. Hey, and then everybody calling out Jordan, you calling out your favorite name. It was just one of those things, and that imagination was there. I remember when G.I. Joe came out, Transformers. It was certain people, they wouldn't even allow you to come over to their house to play with their stuff unless you was really their boy. Like, oh, we can't have company. And you like, okay. I remember that, like, okay, I remember that. Don't come over there trying to hoop like tomorrow thinking we cool. Because I used to remember it was certain people who was clicked up. And if you wasn't in that clique and you went by their house, they in there playing G.I. Joe. That's how serious that thing was. You had to have an imagination, man. So I think that is a lost art right now because everybody's on the phone, everybody's on the tablets, everything's there. Let me see what Jeff talking about over here. He said,
Well, he's saying the same thing we saying about playing with the wrestling man. He's talking about the NBA too sensitive. But let me switch gears in this one for you too, Jeff. Right? You know what was so important that was different too? I remember we used to have to imagine what it was to be with a girl or to look at the Playboy book that your big brother had or your uncle had. Like that was like a gem. If you found a Playboy book or a magazine, you was the man. And if you actually had HBO and you was able to see through the squiggly lines, like you had to use the imagination of how her body looked. But could you imagine you being 14 years old and inquisitive and curious, and all you got to do is go to Pornhub.com? Like it's just that easy, or whatever you want to go to. I'm not a big porn guy, right? That's not what I do. But what I'm saying to you is, it's the access is what we're talking about. All you got to do is type something in. I'm talking about on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google, Yahoo. You type in. Matter of fact, I'm gonna share y'all a personal story. And I shouldn't do this, but this is for you, Jeff. I'm gonna share this. My baby boy is so brilliant, man. He's so smart. So one day, I'll never forget. One day, I told you this wrong, but one day we was in the car, right? And he was like, "Hey, Dad." I was like, "Yeah." He was like, "Man, how do you spell girls?" And I was like, "G." And he had to be every bit of kindergarten, 5, 6. I say, "Man, Girl, right? That's how you spell girl." And then he was like, and then I was like, you put an S on it at the end if it's girls. And then, okay, a few minutes later, go past, he say, "Dad, how you spell balls?" I said, Ball, Ball. Yes. And then he gonna say, I say, "Son, I hit him with the wrong. Son, what you in here doing?" I say, "Son, why you ask me that?" He said, "Man, I know what boy balls look like. I want to see what girl balls." He said, "I want to see what the girl balls look like." And my man was on Google trying to type in girl balls. True story. True story. So what I'm trying to tell you is, my son was like, by any means necessary, I know what the boy balls look like because I got them. But how them girl balls looking, right? And and he was in kindergarten. So, but it was so, I can laugh at it now, right? But at the end of the day, I'm like, man, this is crazy. My man was trying to find the girl balls. He trying to understand what girl private spots look like, right? At that age. And I'm looking like, man, it's so crazy. So I had this conversation with him. But the premise of the story is, we used to have to wonder back then. These kids could type in girl balls. They could hey, they could type in whatever they talking about to see what it is. I know people gonna kill me for telling that story. But I'm trying to tell you, my son was really, really before his age at 5, 6 years old, man, trying to figure it all out. And I think that's remarkable. What you got for us, Ron?
Hey man, I tell people all the time, man, once you have kids, they gonna hit you with some things that you are least expecting. So, you know, my son is 5, and one day he said, "Hey Dad," this dude, wow, man. This dude said it's big. I said, "Wow." I looked at my man. He said, "What's going on?" I said, "That's what it do when it's happy." I had
Uh,
Hey, I had to respond to. I couldn't leave my man hanging because he was really wanting to know what was going on, and I'm sitting up there like, dude, this dude 5 talking about. I was like, whoa, I gotta come up with an answer for Buddy so he can understand it. So he said, "Oh, so he was sad earlier." I said, "I guess so." I said, "I guess he was sad, man." You
you
know,
trying, you
you,
trying to
you
make that thing happy again. Hey, hey, man, all I'm trying to explain to y'all is, Big Mama say there's nothing new under the sun, right? So let's talk about these catastrophes. Ron, can you think of a time when we were in the 80s? Let's just call it the 80s, right? Or 80s, 90s. Can you think about a time that it was like this many school shootings? The Great Depression, um, a celebrity that made it to be the president twice. Like, can you think? I mean, this is pretty insane, wouldn't you say?
man, listen, I I can't recall of any event in the '80s that really stood out. Um, that happened, here where you kick off the year. I just remember the '80s being dominated, and I do mean dominated, by Prince and Michael Jackson. the pop era was really big at that time, and I just remember um, when Prince movie Purple Rain came out. I was a little shorty going to see that. I just remember everybody, my mom and everybody like, "Oh, we're going to see it." I'm thinking, what is this all about? But I knew all about Michael Jackson, but I learned all about Prince just seeing that movie and was turned on to him in a different way to listen to that. So I think when you look at the 80s and the 90s, the one major event that I remember in the 90s, we had the Persian Gulf War. I remember that being real big. I remember uh, I remember the year that we had I think it was LA. You guys had that earthquake out in LA. I know you weren't there, but it was a really big earthquake, and I remember that being like a real devastation thing that made the news. Um, the OJ thing, when with his wife and everything, ex-wife and everything. I remember that being big news. But I would have to say what's equivalent to the times we in right now, and just seeming like we just went from one thing to the next. I would say in 2020, the whole world shut down. When we went through COVID, man, I remember, man, it was to the point where it was just stressful. What did he have? He said they hit
He
the
said,
80s had the drug trading. Oh yeah, the drugs. Yeah, that was real big. I didn't think about that. The drug games was real big in the 80s. But yeah, man, I think 2020 was really devastating because you had whole states pretty much not doing much at all because some of the governments wasn't allowing restaurants to do certain things if you didn't have the vaccination. Um, you couldn't do anything. And for me, that was an alarming year because I never been around where a company was offering you $2,500 to get a vaccination. And I was like, y'all didn't even do that for the flu. Why would I take that? I said, why don't you just give me the $2,500 for a bonus, not for no vaccination? And they're like, no, you got to go and get the vaccination, then we'll give you the money. I said, nah, you know. And so I think with all the things that we got going on back to back to back, I would say 2020 to me was equivalent to that year because it just shut us all down, and it was months. It was to the points to where we had to really figure things out. That's when Timberland and my man Swiss B came out with the verses. Man, it was a big thing with that verses. That kept people sanity during that time. When you really think about it, we was doing what we're doing right now online. You didn't have to leave your house. You tuned in when they had the best people going up against each other. So I think that was
you you
that was
know
really.
you know what else was really really big back in our era in the 80s and 90s. If you remember your mom, they always took care of the elderly. In my era, everybody I knew that had a big mama or an aunt on hospice or needed a caregiver, it wasn't a lot of these assisted livings. It wasn't a lot of the whole, assisted livings or the nursing homes. It was they existed, but it was like it was your responsibility to take care of your own. And right now, they booming because we don't have time for Big Mama and them. And at the end of the day, that does not relate to me. Like matter of fact, a lot of people you grow up with, they don't even know their grandma. They don't. And we're not talking about the new era that got 40-year-old grandmas, right? We talking about the real Big Mama, and they actually don't exist at this point, and we forget about them. You know what I mean? Singers I work with and the kids just say, we just want the house, you got everything in it. I was like, well, what about the pictures? The memories, you said this was your bedroom. You said, oh, we don't care about none of that. Well,
Mm.
you got a car, the albums, everything in there. Just that we gonna sell the house, we gonna split the profits. They didn't want nothing in there, absolutely nothing. So I just want to let y'all know everything is crazy, and I know everything is coming back around. Kind of like you see the bell bottoms and different styles are still happening that changes. But when you talk about these fires, this happened before. In the 80s, that's when the home computers were first created. I don't know if you remember that. And then in the 90s, that's when they blew up the World Trade the first time in 93. That's when that happened, right? So a lot of these things, and then MTV and CNN was dropped in the night. I mean, CNN and MTV, right, was dropped in the '90s as well. So all I'm saying to you is this era is changing. Like, who even watch MTV anymore? Like, I mean, I know we all watch CNN, and I know MTV has changed. TV has changed tremendously. The media has changed because everything is going over to this social media thing. And so my thing is, I just want us to sometimes get back to the basics of how we got here, understanding all things that we learn ain't bad. Now, maybe if I tell Jeff to go outside and go get that switch, maybe we could do away with that or go get that extension cord. Maybe we don't have to go that far, but it's a lot of principles that we used to do that still work that got us to where we are to this day. What you say, Romy?
Well, you said something that was profound when you said that it wasn't as many of the senior livings, the skilled nursing facilities back then, and the reason being there just wasn't that many people that needed it, at that time. Um, the thing is, when we had that last war, our grandparents, when they came back from the wars, they was just having baby after baby after baby. So you look at all of the big families out there, including yourself, it's a lot of people that grew up, not that you're a baby boomer, I'm just saying, it's a lot of people that is in that, I think the baby boomer, I forget the exact year, but let's just say 60 plus. I think it's somewhere around there. We'll just say 60 plus. Um, they had a lot of siblings, eight,
40,
nine brothers.
46 to 64. Yeah.
Okay, so there we go. So when you were born in that time frame, it it was a lot of siblings, so many brothers, so many sisters.
To be
So
76 million births in the United States from 1946 to 64.
and so with that being said, you fast forward, and now everybody is getting older. The money is wherever they are. That's what they started to see. And so as they grow older, and some didn't have kids of their own, some going out, kids live out of the country, things of that nature. They started to live in they got the active senior, you know all about that. You could tell us a whole book on that stuff. You got the active senior living communities. You got the communities where you have to have the caregivers around the clock to take care of the people. So it's one of those things where that's where the money is. So that's why they had to start building. That's what I do in construction world. One year I remember building 6 senior livings in 1 year, and this was for the active senior living. And so it's 3 levels, the elevator, the whole nine. And that's just the times, that they grew up in, having that many siblings. So eventually it was going to lead to something. So I think, when we talking about, is there anything new under the sun? I think that when it comes to the new school versus the old school, I think that we had a lot more nurturing with Big Mama being around. We had a lot more life lessons with Big Mama being around. You may not have understood what she was talking about in that moment, but she would always say to you, "You may not understand it today, but you're gonna understand one day what I'm saying." And then they'll go on to tell you the story and what things to look out for, things of that nature. And I just feel like now, man, the times that we in, like my grandmother, she used to always tell me, like, hey, make sure you read your Bible if you don't do nothing else. And I'm like, what I'm gonna read the Bible for? She's like, because it's some things in there that's gonna prepare you for what's to come. And I remember she said that to me, and I'm like, for what's to come? I'm like, well, they wrote that back in the days. How are they gonna tell me? And then she started breaking it down, and I was looking like, whoa, I can't combat something that's telling you like, hey, this is for a time in the future. I ain't even gonna reveal this dream to this man, but just know is I'm gonna come back like a thief in the night. I started reading that stuff for myself, like, wait a minute now. If you think about a thief, they not coming when you're in the house. They waiting until you're on vacation, smiling all up in the videos, all up in the beach sand. Look at me, YouTubing and everything like that. Come back. Man, they got me. That's how it's gonna be. And I started seeing that eye opening scriptures. I said, wait a minute, it's time for me to get to know him for myself because clearly I want to be in best position for this thing. Just like when you go to a boxing match, you got to do your training. I figured I said I better start reading this word. So hey, you right about that, man. I think we're in some different times, bro.
So what about? And I just put this spin on it. What about how they used to have all them kids back then after the wars, right? 9, 10, 11. They used to do the puppies. They used to they used to have litters, right? 9, 10, 11, 12 kids. Big mama and them used to have. And now the women barely having one. They one. Like haha said, they barely doing one. And I'm saying, is that selfish? What you think, Jeff? Is that selfish?
Hey, you asked it to because you got to think about it. It's Paul in the Bible. He said, not everybody has the desire to get married. He chose not to get married. He one of the men in the Bible that never got married. He's like, he even tell you, he said, not everybody's going to be as strong as me. Because he said, if you got that fire in you, it's better for you to get married so you won't be going out here just hitting everything that's moving and everything. That's basically what he's saying in our common day terms. But I think the reason people are going away from the children, the cost of living has went up significantly, and everything is just so astronomically high compared to when Big Mama and them they started raising their kids. And let's be honest, not only did they raise the kids, the neighborhood raised your kids. I used to hear stories of your neighbors being able to whoop you. Let somebody neighbor hit their kid today, that you might not see that neighbor again because nobody's allowing you to touch their kids. That's how tight knit those communities was. So it was a village that helped raise the kids up. Now everybody's just so focused on their careers, their businesses, that I tip my hat off to a young lady and a young man that chooses not to have a kid, knowing that you won't have the time for the kid, because you got to have time for these kids, man. It's kind of not fair to them if you know you're gonna be gone 360 days out of the year. You only see them 5 days. Like, hey, son, you know who I am? No. I know your picture. You know what I'm saying? So I think when it comes down to that, when you choosing your career and what you have going on, because the truth of the matter is they might not be having kids, but people are having more pets. They having their fur babies, whether it's dogs, whether it's cats, birds, reptiles. They doing anything to have that responsibility without having a kid.
So what what about? And you know me, I just want to go back to what about the domestic violence? Do y'all still think that's still there for what it used to be back in the 80s, 90s, 70s, opposed to right now? I know it exists, but what I'm saying is if we were to do a toll of the numbers, do you think the numbers are still high, they low, or down, or what do we feel?
Well, I brought up 2020, and in 2020, domestic violence rates went sky high. People was around their wives and boyfriends and girlfriends way longer than they would have been if they was out there working and not all of the homeschooling and everything like that. And so Jeff said yes, but women are beating the men now.
Boy,
And
jumping fool, man.
that boy Jeff. No, and so when we went through 2020, that was a reality. Domestic violence calls went up. If we go back and look at the stats, it was just skyrocketing. And I know for a fact that it was due to people not really being used to being around that loved one for that many hours. Can you think about it? Most people was working for their, 9 to 5, 40 to 50 hours. If you're doing some overtime, you might do 50. Let's just say 2 extra hours a day or something like that. So what happens when they telling you, hey, Lois, you got to work from home? She working from home. Everybody's at home And you looking like, man, I'm used to just getting up and leaving here at 10. Now I got to go to the store. I got to go and get this bread. Go get me some eggs so I can make this. Look, I don't feel like it. What you say? You don't feel like
Well, I think a lot of it is based on what Jeff was saying too, with the women working and making the money now, and they don't really need you. A lot of them, a lot of the men, kind of like on that control stuff. Like, hey, woman, they hit you with that. All right, hey, woman, I said eat the cake, anime, eat the cake, and then they'll send it all the way there. I'm not. I don't condone domestic violence. We're talking about are the numbers up or down? And I think COVID did do a number on us. And matter of fact, I was talking to one of my guys yesterday. He hit me with something so imperative. He said, I think COVID really messed us up. Like on an economic basis. He was like, when they was pumping all that PPP loan stuff in the systems out here, that was money we really didn't have. And now we seeing the ramifications of it 2-3 years later. And now we see that money, now that it's inflation, ain't nobody really got no money right now. So all of that is round and round in a circle. And so my thing is, I'm just preparing y'all, like Big Mama said, to get ready. Get your house in order, save your money, start paying off some bills. Because at the end of the day, you want to be in a good position if a real catastrophe come your way. We got a snippet of it with the fires, and you see the snow and the schools shut down. But what happens when the government shut down? What happens when you can't call Wells Fargo for that 100,000 you got in the bank or 400,000? What happens when the stock market crash and all your IRA and 401k, all of that is gone, mutual funds, all of that is in limbo. Where you going then? Where you going then? What happens when you can't find peace in your home or at your job with your girlfriend, boyfriend, wife, husband, or them kids? What happens when you can't find peace nowhere you go at the gym? Huh? What on vacation? I didn't did it all. I still can't find peace. Where can you find that real true peace that you're gonna feel secure or safe in? So we probably gotta go back to what wrong Big Mama was saying. We gotta start reading something substantial or something that you can hide, that you can always go get, that's gonna make you feel secure and safe. I think that's something that's probably not gonna change. Jeff said COVID reset the economy back to zero, unfortunately. So we need to get back to the basics, survival skill. Matter of fact, Ron, when the last time you talked to one of your homeboys, Jeff or Ron, and they talked to you heard their kids say, "We in Boy Scout." Well, what happened to the Boy Scouts? Remember, they used to teach you how to do a fire. They used to teach you how to camp. They used to teach you how to go catch them raccoons and squirrels and kill them and fish. You had to hunt. They taught you everything, survival skills in Boy Scouts, so you'll be able to understand how to live. And right now, yeah, I know y'all from the hood. We get it. But y'all don't have no survival. Matter of fact, y'all brag about all them guns y'all got and don't even know how to shoot them for real. So can you? We know you could go to the range, but can you shoot a moving target? Can you shoot something moving? We ain't talking about standing still and turning the gun to the side like the movies. We talking about can you really hit something if we if we was in a racial war? Or somebody really was trying to rob your mom and your wife and rob your house and it was 4 of them in there and you had the pistol, but they got all them pistols too. Biggie say, what you gonna do, fight or run? I get it. So at the end of the day, I just want you to get back to what Jeff said, the survival skills. You got to be able to learn how to cook. How many men out here know how to cook? That's a true question. We ain't talking about cereal. We ain't talking about warming it up in an air fryer. And we not talking about waffle in a toaster. How many people can make some shrimp parmesan or pasta or some a steak and some potatoes, some corn, mashed potatoes? How many people can really throw down? Can you bake a cake? Huh? Because I'm just saying, y'all might need to take some notes, man, because this is becoming real. I know a lot of y'all depend on y'all wives, girlfriends, baby mama, or concubine, but y'all need to be able to really learn how to cook, how to shoot a gun, how to be able to take care and care for a woman's emotions. I know Lim didn't like that, but you got to be able to learn some more skills opposed to sitting up here and being a mama's boy and you was used to being catered to and you want a woman to come take over to be your mama. Well, I said, get out of there, Lowe's. Get out of there. Come on, Robbie.
Hey, you opening up Pandora's box, but this is real. Um, I'll put the book up later, but I just was looking at something the other day about what would you do if we was in a situation where we lost power for multiple weeks, not just one day, not 2 days, like my man LeBron said, not just one, not two, not three. We're talking about weeks upon weeks without power. That means you got to know how to have your non-perishable goods in the house. You got to know how to create that campfire you talking about. What they used to call that, the skillet, the little skillet. You got the little propane tank. It's like having those basic, survival skills as Jeff is talking about. How many people know how to start their own electricity and do all the different things? How many flashlights do you have? Candles do you have? That's the type of stuff we got to be prepared. And you touched on something when it comes to home defense and then self-defense. When you out here, we're talking about, you just brought up something earlier with the trafficking, human trafficking, man. I was just looking at a video. This was in the UK. The man had this little young girl. She looked like she could have been 10, 11, around the corner. The lady just tried to walk by like, hey, what are you doing? Then he was looking like, hey, he tried to walk away. So the lady walked up faster behind him recording. And she asked the little girl, hey, are you okay? The little girl started boo-hoo crying. The girl stayed with her and the guy basically took off. We got to be conscious out here in this day and time because it's human trafficking happening pretty much every day in almost all 50 states. And not everybody that's with the man or woman that you see is their loved one, is someone that they know, and there's people out here doing some harm. So you may not be a person that totes a gun on you. You may, have to call the police. You may have your police baton on you. You may have your taser on you, whatever it is. But when you see something that's wrong, the honorable man and woman does something. You don't just walk past it and not do anything.
Well, let me say this. I think you're right. The honorable man or woman will do something, but the problem is we are not in tune about what's going on in the world. How many times you get on the airport, where you go through the airport and get on the plane, and you looking down at your phone, you don't really know your gate number until you looking down, and you so spaced out in your own world, you don't even know that was baby girl that was being trafficked right in front of your very eyes because you so concerned about what you got going on. You so busy rushing to your meeting and rushing to church or whatever else you're trying to do, you don't even see right in front of your own eyes is stuff that's really happening to the kids, to terrorists, it's homeless people. People really need money. They need help. People just need a prayer. Matter of fact, let me dumb it down, Jeff. Some people just need a hug. Huh? When the last time you actually, like, some people go months without even experience the physical touch of somebody else, not even on no sexual romantic stuff, but just, I care. Some people really believe nobody care. And guess what? Rome told a story a few months ago about how he walked in on somebody that was getting ready to commit suicide or had a conversation or what. All I'm saying is you never know what people are going through. So you got to be able to get out of the side of yourself in 2025 to be able to pray for somebody, right? Grab somebody by their hand and shake their hand and let them know that, man, I care. Give them some words of encouragement. Let them know at the end of the day, we brothers, man. And it ain't about me knowing you or not knowing you. It's about you. And you know the sad thing about this, Jeff and Rome, that it takes catastrophe. I was out without power for 3 days, right? And it takes stuff like that to know your neighbors. Hey, you need to use my generator. Hey, plug your refrigerator up to like we there's nothing new under the sun. Back in the day, they used to run cable. Let me school the new people. Back in the day, and I know this was illegal, but forgive me. Back in the day, they used to run cable from 2, 3 doors down with the stitching cord. You used to have 18 stitching cords going from your window to their window so you could use their cable or use your lights because your lights went out. Huh? And so I'm just trying to tell. And then if your hot water got cut off, you used to have to boil the water like Big Mama used to do, put it in the bathtub and go and get you a bath like that. Right? And 2, 3 people had to get in there before the water got boiled again. So and I know it's nasty, I get it, but these are called survival skills. And I'm just trying to explain to you that is how I got the chance to know a lot of my neighbors intimately because power was off. It wasn't, what you gonna do? You gonna stay at the wall, can't watch no TV, you can't charge your phone. So you gotta be able to be forced to know people. And that is what it is about that being laid off. God has provided for me through through his community. And it's all about community. You got to be able to reach back for your community and know your community. That was part of the reason. They're going to get mad at me for saying this wrong, but I'm going to say it anyway. It's part of the reason why your boy Los didn't pledge. You know what I mean? People I notice in a fraternity, sorority right now, they're struggling. I said two struggling. And I'm not blaming the fraternity. That's not what I'm doing, right? But what I'm saying to you is if I take some wood and if I pledge my life and you putting a brand on me, I should be able to call you for a job and you should be able to say, you know what, let me call my manager. I could get you an interview tomorrow. And then now if you get the job, cool or not, but at least I'm pulling some strings. And I know that probably happens some of the time, but what I'm saying to you is I believe that it's people out here that's struggling, and I just encourage y'all to reach back for one another. That's all I want you to know.
Hey, you touched on a lot, man. You brought up a good point earlier about talking to homeless and just being kind of more aware of your surroundings. Because when I go to the airport, I like to look at people's faces. Some people are more content. Some people are more. You can see some and like some disgruntledness, some anger. And I remember being at the airport one time, and the lady kind of sat 2 seats from me, but she was looking like it was almost like as if it was the end. Like wherever she was going, it was like, I don't know how I'm gonna make it. I don't know. So I just looked at her and I said, ma'am, I don't know what you're going through, but I said, I just want you to know that God loves you. And, I want you to, just pray. Whatever you're going through, it's going to be all right. Do you know the lady broke down crying?
Wow.
I'm sitting up there looking like, whoa, like I wasn't trying to get that reaction. I was just trying to say some positive words to her. And for her to break down, I don't know what she was going through, but the fact that she heard, what God was saying and God loves you type of thing, it just made the lady break down. And I give y'all another story. One day I was with my kids, and my daughter's 12, so they like to say, "Come on, bro." And so I'm at the light. The homeless guy's at the light. Normally I have change in my door. This day I only had like $1.50 in the door, but I usually have maybe 5 and all change. I just give it all the way out. And the guy looked at me and he said, "Oh, thank you. I just needed a drink." He wasn't talking like a liquor. He was talking about some water to wash these cookies down that this woman gave me. And I was like, it made me emotional because I was just like, I remember that scripture when he said, when you feed the least of these, you have fed me. And my daughter she was roasting me like, come on, bro. I know you're not crying. I'm like, listen, you don't understand power in this. I only gave this man $1.50, and he said, I can go and get something to wash these cookies down. And here we are crying about what we're gonna eat for dinner today, and you got a whole refrigerator full of things. You
That
just
you,
like you just
yeah, it did stuff that expired. You got strawberries in the refrigerator right now that's molded.
I'm
That
talking about
you
molded.
Yeah, because you better let it stick in there too long because you got other options.
Other options. You
And
know, so
you know what got me wrong? I went to Thailand in 24, right? And I didn't even tell you this story. Matter of fact, I
I
ain't tell
know you lying.
yeah, I forgot to tell you this one. So I was at a restaurant. We was at a restaurant, and do you believe me? I promise you, this lady barely spoke English, and she hit me with the why you look so serious? And I was like, me, I look serious. She was like, yeah, why you look so serious? She was like, you from America? I said, yes. She said, well, you came too far to be stressed. Like, isn't this supposed to be a vacation for you? And I
Mm.
was like, wow, like not you didn't read me on vacation, and I'm worried about everything. It was my business. I got a couple calls from the business, and stuff wasn't going right. She was like, "You on vacation? This is a vacation. You aren't supposed to be stressed here. Stress somewhere else. Not
Mm.
you ain't come here for all that." She hit me with one of them. You ain't come here for all that. And I was
Mm.
like, it was just so powerful because people are, like Jeff said, people are really fighting true depression and anxiety. And I don't remember that being the case when we were shorties. I don't remember anxiety kids saying, "Oh, I got anxiety. I got ADHD, and I mean, we didn't heard that in the Ritalin, and we didn't heard that before. But we talking about at an all-time high. I have depression. I was diagnosed with depression and anxiety. And you worrying about, and let me just, I'm sorry, I hate to go here, but I'm gonna do this. The Bible say, don't tomorrow, no, it say, let tomorrow worry about tomorrow. Don't today have enough problems of its own? Let tomorrow worry about itself. That's a scripture in Matthew, right? So at the end of the day, if you read and you think about that, like, why are we stressing about retirement? Why we're stressing about next week or how we gonna pay the mortgage next month? What about today? What we doing right now? And so let me end by saying the big mama isms after I give Rome some closing remarks. What you got for us, Romy? Closing remarks.
Hey, closing remarks, man. I'm gonna touch on what Jeff just put on here. He said, "I feel you. I spent the end of 2024 fighting off depression. It's a lot of people out here dealing with something. One person's dealing with depression. One person's dealing with anger management. One person's fighting off alcoholism. One person is fighting off mental illness. One person is fighting off um, battling drugs. You know, whether they're popping pills or they're taking, all the different drugs that's out there. So the thing is, we all have vices, and what I say is, no matter what you're dealing with today, tomorrow can be better, but we all have to come to a realization that we need help. And whether your help is financial help, whether your help is AA help, whatever support that you need, like we were saying earlier, use your community. Sometimes you got to open up to the one confident that you have physically that you can talk to. And sometimes you got to just tell a total stranger, hey, I don't know where to go, but I need help. What type of help you need? I need help because I drink a fifth of liquor every day, and I don't want that anymore. I want God to take that taste away from me. I'm not a professional in that, but I'll sure look up the number to call so we can get you the help that you need because you came to me. Being a total stranger, I would do that because you came to me out of all the people to choose. You came to me. And so what I say is we all may get to a point to where we need to talk to someone. When it comes to depression, I'm a big advocate for counseling, and I feel like sometimes you got to talk things out. Some things is not about medication, but it is about sitting on the couch and talking those things out on the phone with a professional because they have the resources to get you back on track. And so I would just say words of encouragement for 2025. There is nothing new under the sun because guess what? For those of us who are believers, we're dealing with the same God yesterday, today, and tomorrow. And long as you can look up, you can get up. That's what I'll say to y'all.
Boy, that boy sound like a preacher. As long as you can look up, you can get up. I love that. And that sound like Baby X time. I want to be happy again. So let me let me end by saying this, right? So this the Big Mamaism. The Big Mamaism is there's nothing new under the sun. We'll just take that, right? But what do I think Big Mama meant by that? There's nothing new under the sun. That means, baby, anything you going through, Jeff, somebody else going through it too. And that means that means this ain't new. This ain't depression ain't new. Anxiety ain't new. Alcoholism ain't new. Being a sexaholic ain't new. Being broke ain't new. Like none of these things. Being suicidal ain't new. Not having a job and being laid off ain't new. And so if you get around people that have been laid off before, if you get around people that have been depressed and delivered now, these are people that can show you and tell you that, you know what, I went through an abortion, a miscarriage. I went through not liking or not believing in God. I've been through being domestically abused. I've been through being raped. I've been through, but so the Bible says something really important as well. And I know y'all, I just got to hit you with scripture at this point, but it say, all things work together for good to those who love God and called according to his purpose. And so if you believe that, it means all the ugly stuff, the bad stuff, why bad stuff happen to good people, all of it is working for your good. And so I know that's really, really hard to obtain and it's hard to believe, but all I'm saying to you is there's nothing new under the sun, meaning as though it happened before. Get with somebody that can encourage you out of your situation because it's gonna happen. That means if you depressed, get somebody that was depressed and that ain't not depressed, and they can pick you up and lift you up out of depression just like they got out of it. If you found somebody that was raped before and that ain't right, if you find somebody that's blind, huh? And they finding joy even though that they blind, even though they crippled, they still finding joy in life and through life. Find your way out of your situation. And that is my word for 2025. And since Rome left it with a rhyme, I'm going to say, if you want to stay alive, do it in 2025.
Hey, y'all have a good one, man.